Well, AI is everywhere. You get tired of hearing it. I get tired of hearing it. It's like one of those words that you hear a million times, then it just sounds weird because you say it over and over. It makes me almost cringe every time I have to say it. It's just like an eye roller. Not because like I hate AI or something like that, but I just want to try to avoid like talking about it in every single video because it does seem to be something that is often talked about for obvious reasons. Now, AI disclosure is something that's also talked a bit about in the video game industry. Should video game companies, should they have to be transparent about their use of AI when making video games? Steam has actually kind of done this quite a bit recently. They've like added tags to games where publishers and developers, they have to say, what kind of AI was used in their game. And they actually recently kind of dialed this back a little bit, but they still kind of have that rule. But as far as what the game developers themselves think, people in the game industry, how transparent should we be? Or just the basic yes or no question. Should game companies have to, should they be required to disclose generative AI? Well, it turns out GamesIndustry.biz, we see right here, they looked at this and they actually determined that nearly 9 in 10 games industry workers believe generative AI use should be disclosed on storefronts. Yeah, it looks like they did a bit of research on their own, and yes, this is insane. I figured it would be like kind of in the middle, 50, maybe a little bit over 50, like 60%. But no, it says almost 9 out of 10 workers in the games industry, or specifically 88.4%, predominantly developers, believe that generative AI use should be declared on digital storefronts like Steam, according to a survey conducted on GamesIndustry.biz. Now, it does go over kind of that history I was talking about with Steam. That's kind of an interesting background. So it says Valve brought in its AI disclosure policy back in January 2024, so a little over 2 years ago, and by July 2025, around 7% of all games on Steam had declared generative AI use, but the requirements were actually relaxed in January of this year, just a couple months ago, so that developers only need to disclose the use of AI for content generation and not for efficiency gains during development. The way I understand that, like, they don't have to disclose it if AI was in some way or another used in the tools to kind of make development easier, but not if it's just full-blown content generative AI. So, one could say their stance on it has kind of been flip-flop, but maybe you could just say they've just gotten more specific on it now. But regardless, when it comes to generative AI, yeah, that statistic is crazy. 9 out of every 10. So we see right here they have a chart, 2 charts actually. So the one on the left is exactly what we just talked about. Do you think generative AI should be declared on storefront pages like Steam? 88.4% say yes. Actually, about 3% say they don't know or maybe, and then 8% said no. So less than 1 out of every 10 person, I have to add, says no. On the right there, they specifically ask what these developers and these video game workers, what they think about Steam's new policy about only having generative AI as the requirement to disclose on Steam. This was extremely divided. This was very, very 50-50. 48% said no, they don't agree with it. 32% said yes, they agree, and about 20%, 19 or 20% said that they don't know or maybe. So I guess we have yet to see what the end-all, be-all, best way of doing this whole thing is that is going to make the majority of people agree. Could just be something we eventually figure out. I don't know. It is definitely a tough decision. There is probably not a perfect answer to it, but it is pretty crazy that at a bare minimum, 9 out of every 10 video game workers do feel that in some sort of way, AI use should be declared by video game developers and publishers to the consumer.